Earlier this week, I posted a video about the University of Hull saying that the correct use of the English language is a form of white supremacy. And over the last 12 months, the same has been said about music theory and chess. But now there's something else to be added to the ever-growing list that the woke brigade say is racist. Cheese. It comes as no surprise that this argument is being peddled by some members of Extinction Rebellion, because that organisation is jammed full of social justice warriors. And if you're unfamiliar with that phrase, an SJW is someone who fights for a cause in such a manner that it's not only detrimental to the cause, but also alienates the general public. Back in 2019, in the days before COVID, Extinction Rebellion held a number of protests saying enough wasn't being done to tackle climate change, and I completely agree with them on that. But they were complaining about the pollution coming from vehicles, so they deliberately caused a number of traffic jams, meaning that cars, lorries and buses were sat there with their engines idling for hours, polluting things just for the sake of it. And also, I doubt many commuters got behind the cause of Extinction Rebellion when they found they'd be late for work because some fucking half-wit had glued himself to a train. Interestingly, XR get to their protests in wanked-out old diesel vans. So it's okay for them to do it. The woman who came up with the idea that cheese is a form of racism is called Alison Paulner, and she's also a vegan activist. Now, I've got nothing against vegans, some of my best friends are vegan. But importantly, they're not the shouty ones, in the same way I've got friends who are feminists, but not the ones who froth at the mouth and hate all men. Basically, I get on with people who can make their point without needing to be an arsehole. A curious thing about humans is when we're born, all of us can ingest milk, of course we can. But for the majority of the human race, once they get into childhood, that gene switches off. But oddly, it doesn't happen often in Caucasians. The vast majority of lactose-intolerant people are non-white. And that's the thinking behind this theory. Anyone that uses dairy products is by default a white supremacist. Because of the strange times we're living in, the way which a person can get more attention to their cause or get someone else's cancelled is to just shoehorn race into the argument. And this is a perfect example of a social justice warrior. Someone who is concerned about animal welfare, dairy farming, the impact it has on the environment and climate change, and the way they go about it is to label anyone who butters their toast as a fucking Nazi. A few years ago, a group of white power lunatics in the USA used the same argument in reverse. They filmed themselves chugging back gallons of milk because they thought it made them racially superior. The ability to ingest certain foodstuffs does not make anyone racially superior or inferior. But if we were to follow this skewed logic that dairy products are inherently racist, does that mean in a coffee shop the barista could call out, "I've got an espresso here for Julie and a cappuccino for the fascist in the corner"? Many times I've been to the seaside and bought an ice cream, and I've never been overrun with the urge to then set fire to a mosque. Mr. Whippy hasn't pushed me over the edge. And just yesterday I saw an Asian guy drinking a milkshake. Should he now be labelled a race traitor? Because that shit is starting up on social media. Just yesterday I was reading about a black woman who's got a white boyfriend and she's being called a race traitor. Now, I've said for years, the far left and the far right are opposite sides of the same fucking coin. And calling someone a traitor because they have a relationship with someone who has a different skin colour, that's the argument that's been used for years by the guys with the burning crosses and the white hoods. It was also the ideology of the people who goose-stepped their way into Poland. And of course, I'm saying all this from the context of being a straight white guy. And that's not something I'm overly proud of because I didn't get to pick my race, gender or sexuality. But nor do I feel guilty about it, even though in recent months I've had people ask me, "Do you not feel responsible for the slave trade?" And I reply, it was a terrible thing that went on, but I had fuck all to do with it. Anything that happened before March 1978 has got nothing to do with me. And in the current climate, with so many people saying that anything connected to slavery should be got rid of, someone needs to phone the Egyptians and tell them to get those fucking pyramids down. But recently, there are some people who make me feel ashamed to be white. Woke white people. They are the fucking worst. Like this woman who thinks that a bar of dairy milk is affiliated to the far right. Or a guy I saw on YouTube last night, whose videos were even worse than mine. An upper middle class white guy saying, I stand alongside the BAME community and the trans community and the gay community. I give a voice to those that do not have one. And I thought, no you don't, you're talking over them and implying they can't speak up for themselves, you condescending prick. It genuinely bothers me that I could be in town and see a white person with a microphone explaining that every other white person except them and their very select group of friends is a card-carrying racist. Because people might think I'm associated with them. Luckily, I've got a shaved head and tattoos, so I could probably pass myself off as a member of Combat 18. Thanks for watching. Just to clarify, I am not now, nor have I ever been affiliated with any neo-Nazi group. But the fact I needed to explain that says a lot about the society we're living in. Again, thanks for watching.